We're here with Jermaine Chambers.
What are you doing?
Welcome to the Mvmnt Radio Show. I appreciate you.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, you was the first one to say you wanted to do it. It took me a longer time to get to you.
It's all good, man.
Yeah.
Say the last should be first.
Yeah. Some growing pains. I had some growing pains.
It's all good.
Sometimes you don't be expecting to grow so fast. And,
right.
Things happen. Blessings. Sometimes we're gonna be ready for them.
That's right.
We want them, but then you get it, you don't be ready.
Don't know what you got to go through to get it.
Yeah. So it's good to finally get in here with you and talk to you. Of course, we go way back, like a big brother to me. I appreciate you coming on and sharing your story with the Mvmnt Radio listeners. Just take me from your beginnings.
I'm a homestead kid, man. I grew up project kid.
Yeah.
Grew up right there off Exit 6 and Pine Island projects. So always played sports, a good student. You know what I mean? So academically, school came easy to me. Never had to really work too hard. Academically, but athletically, as I grew, the older I got, sort of grew into my body. I actually ended up leaving Naranjin. I went to live with my sister in Tacoma, Washington. She was in the military after my 8th grade year. So I went out there to Tacoma for 2 years, and that's where I really found myself,
Athletically,
okay. I went out there and I really stood out. I was always a really good athlete, but I played for Homestead Hurricanes, So they said that was the white part, you know what I mean? So I played at the white part for Homestead. I didn't play for the Razorbacks. So Gary and Martin, there was a few other kids that ended up I ran back into in high school that also played for Homestead Hurricanes, So it were quite a few of us that played on that part and not Florida City Park, but that did well, went on to do good things. But when I went out to Tacoma, I really, really stood out. So when I was when you were in the 9th grade, you were still basically in middle school.
Right.
So I was playing varsity, and when I got to the 10th grade, they were waiting for me. So I ended up starting at quarterback in the 10th grade, and then they ended up moving me to running back. So my sister ended up getting sick in the middle of the 10th grade. I had to move back here. Oh. So when I moved back home, that's when Ham was, your brother Avery. He became the starting running back because I think Rudy Gage had gotten hurt or something. And I remember the week that I came back was the week that they played against South Ridge, and Ham had over 100 yards rushing. What I mean? So we ended up becoming really good friends. And I started not to even go out for football because my natural position was quarterback, So I had played like tight end before, and I could always catch or whatnot. But I was like, where do I fit in, at this school, because at the time, Alfonso Bryant was like the park legend, And I think the year, but while I was away, they had gone undefeated. They had gone undefeated the season prior, so I was like, if I go there, even if I'm better than him, they're not gonna play me. You know what I mean? So the whole politics of that thing, and I was like, no, I don't want to do that. And then I was like, well, do I play running back? And then they had all the legends and stuff for playing running back too. But I did face one little adversary that was already at Homestead, because Frank Rash, Speedy, was the god. I think at the time he had I think he, as a sophomore, he had made All Day as a punter or something like that. That year. So
I remember those.
So I was like, I don't want to go out here and play and not be able to participate. I'm used to being the guy. So so I wasn't really sure if I was going to be able to do that at Homestead, or do I transfer and go to another school or whatever. So Coach Chester ended up convincing me to go ahead and go out. So when I came out for football that year, Coach Hardy was like, "Oh, we're already set. We're set at wide receiver, so we don't need any wide receivers."
Coach Dale
Hardy, I mean, I remember the conversation like yesterday. I'm like, man, I'm telling you, I want to play wide receiver. I'm not. Don't worry about who I am or what I am. I'm just telling you that I'll be able to contribute as a wide receiver. But he was like, no, I need you to play defensive back. So I had also played defensive back in Washington, and I was, I could have easily, done well at defensive back too. I just didn't want to play it. I wanted the ball in my hand. So I ended up, I stayed at defensive back 1 or 2 days, and those guys were like clowns over there, Vito and a couple more dudes that thought that they were really good. They thought that I didn't know anything about football, and I had been playing football my whole life, so I actually knew more about football than most of them. But I didn't say anything, you know what I'm saying? So I was the joke for like 1 or 2 days. And I can't remember what happened, but maybe I may have convinced Coach McCray that I wasn't going to be a defensive back after the 2 or 3 days. So he was like, okay, well, y'all can have him back over there on the offensive side. So I went over there and
time to shine.
And I went there once again. Nobody. I didn't. When I came back to Homestead, I didn't tell anybody I was Don Chaney's cousin. I didn't have. There was no tie-in for me.
Right.
You know what I mean? I was just this kid and most people thought that I was from the base because of how I dressed and I was a decent student. they never thought that I was from Pine Island. You know what I mean?
Project.
So, I'm a project kid. So nobody really knew anything about me. It's like this. They don't have nerds come out the project, people from the projects don't dress nice, you know what I mean? So I was like the anti-project kid of what people assume, a kid from Pine Island was supposed to look like. And the odd thing about Pine Island is that it wasn't technically, Pine Island was just Pine Island. It was literally an island. We were by ourselves because we didn't really belong to Naranja, They had Naranja split up, so a part of Naranja went to South Dade, and the other side of Naranja went to Homestead. But we didn't associate ourselves. We wouldn't say that we were from Naranja. No, we say we're from Pine Island.
Right.
We didn't associate with the people from Hartford Square, and the kids from the base definitely. We didn't really fit in, so we were very, very tight knit group. That just we got it from the dirt. You know what I mean? Right. So. So that's how I ended up. That spring I played. Felton was there. Ladd was there. Felton was still playing football at the time.
Y'all came the Three Amigos?
Well, not yet, because you still had Frank Rash.
Yeah.
So what actually ended up happening? We played a jamboree that spring. And I didn't get to play one down. I think we might have had one. In the spring you play 2 quarters, and I can't even remember. It might have been like Southwest or somebody that we played, but whoever it was held the ball a long time. So we might have only run 10 or 15 offensive plays. So I never had a chance to play. So what ultimately ended up happening, Felton Scott wanted to focus more on basketball. So when we came back for 2 days, I told him the next morning, I was like, Coach Hardy, I quit, man. Bro, I ain't used to sitting on no bench, not one play, you know what I mean? So if this is what my experience is going to be like at Homestead, I don't want to be here no more. I'll do what I got to do academically and just go that route.
Yeah.
And Coach Chester, he jacked me up, and he was like, Jermaine, I don't want to hear you talk like that. You're not a quitter and this and that. You're going to go back out there and yada, yada, yada. So long story short, 2 days rolled back around. Felton Scott had decided that he wasn't going to come back out either. I don't know, maybe he was just unhappy with football or the offense that they were running, and he wanted to focus more on basketball. So that opened up an opportunity for me. So we went through 2 days, and by the time we had the first scrimmage, I was starting, So they had me in the slide and playing that tight end position, and then Frank Rash was on the outside, and I was making plays throughout the season. And man, by the time midway through the season, through that year, because Ham was running the ball pretty good, midway through the season, Frank Rash, we had to move him over. The star wide receiver, we had to move him over to defensive back because we were a little short at defensive back, and that's when Ladd sort of came on late in that season. So everybody was kind of hype about, having the prospect of having me and Anthony Ladd. But I knew that that bringing, Felt back into the fold. So I started going to the basketball games, and me and Felt sort of became inseparable. So some way, somehow, I was able to get Felt and Scott to come back to football for our senior season. And that's where the Three Amigos,
hey.
That's where that birthed from. So I had to do a little bit of convincing.
Had to do a little LeBron.
Yeah. So I had to bring the guys together. So so it all worked out in the end. We set the bar, for receiving yards, by a tandem. So between me, Felton, and our first team. All day. I was first team all state, and I think Ladd was second team all day. But we all did very well. Felton ended up playing basketball. He went to UMBC. I went to the University of Miami, and Ladd went to Cincinnati. So, and out of the three, Ladd ended up playing he had a little brief stint in the league with I think was the Patriots.
Yeah.
So yeah, we still all talk to this day. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But, I remember that, man. I remember that like vividly because I would come to all of y'all games.
Yeah.
Be out there. Our games was, I was playing for the Park then. Our games was like Friday or third Saturday. Y'all used to come to y'all games before on a Friday night.
Right.
Get hyped. I was like, well, I'm gonna tote the thing. I see him. They don't went off. I got to go off tomorrow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's crazy. So how was the transition going from Homestead to University of Miami? That's big.
Well, the biggest transition or hurdle that I faced was the year that I left going into Miami was the year that Hurricane Andrew hit.
Yeah.
So that August we had just gone through like 2 days in our camp, and it was the last day of camp when Andrew came in. So they sent us all home. So Andrew was supposed to hit up in North Miami, downtown area, which is not too far from Coral Gables where the school is located. So they sent us all home. So I ended up coming back to Homestead for the hurricane.
For the
So just to show you how lucky I was and how my luck was throughout my college career, they send me back home. I go home and I run into the brunt and the eye of the storm. You know what I mean? So that was a night. I ended up staying at a friend's house, Gideon Gator, who they lived. I thought that living in the projects, the projects would have, collapsed and wouldn't have stood up, been able to withstand the winds of the storm. So I went to what was the name of those that little complex? There was some new houses just outside of the base, but it wasn't Cutler Landings. So they lived in the two-story house. So I'm like, okay, this is a fairly new house. We should be okay and safe here. And we ended up getting stuck in the bathroom on the second floor when the storm came through. So Gideon wasn't there. I was there with his parents, his mom, his dad, and their dog Beasley. And man, that storm was like the scariest night of my life. It sound like trains and demons all mixed in one. The winds were so fast. And I remember coming out of the house or coming out of the bathroom that morning when I opened the door, because I was basically there holding on to the door, shaking all night. But when we got up that morning, once the winds had died down a bit, I remember opening up the door, and when I opened the door, and the only thing I could see was the sky.
Wow.
You know what I mean? It was like a dark, like almost night sky, but it was about 6, 7 in the morning, and there was no more rain. There was, no water, no anything. But I remember opening up the door. So the only part of the roof that stood up was the over the bathroom that we were in. The rest of the roof had completely come off the house. You know what I mean? So that's how my tenure at the University of Miami started. So after about 3 or 4 days, they were able to track me down and find me, and I had to go back to the school, and they took us up to Dodgertown, where we actually ended up starting camp all over again. We ended up going like 11-1, went to the Sugar Bowl that year undefeated, and we ended up losing to Alabama my freshman year. The second year, I think we went like 9-3. We lost to Arizona in the Fiesta Bowl, and we came back and played against Nebraska. My redshirt sophomore year against Nebraska, and they ended up beating us 24-17 in the Orange Bowl.
That's the
Tommy Frazier, Brooke Bollinger, Lawrence Phillips, Corey Schlesinger.
That team was loaded.
Yeah, they were loaded on offense. They were loaded.
They had a lot of South Florida talent on that team.
Yeah, they did. They did. You know, they were tricky good. You know, you look at them like the linemen were like trees. You know, really, really big white boys, man. They were big, and you know, and then they had all the skill positions the guys could run. Very, very athletic kids. But they ended up wearing the defense down. We could not pick up a first down in the second half, and they ended up. We were up, I think, like 17-3, and they walked us down. I think they scored like 2 or 3 touchdowns in the late third, going into the fourth quarter, and they ended up beating us. But where I got kind of mixed up there was Coach Erickson, who had brought us in. We used to run a spread offense, very similar to what Oregon was running here recently, where like a wide open spread offense. So we had 3, 4, and 5 receiver sets. So technically, on our team, our roster, we had 14, 15 wide receivers. So out goes Dennis Erickson. He leaves to go to Seattle, the guy that recruited me. And they bring in Butch Davis. You know, Butch Davis has to play what he sees on paper. So you had Jamie German and you had Yatil Green, but we basically only had 2 wide receiver positions, and we had 15 guys that were all fully capable. You know, and Miami always got the best talent from everywhere. You know, so you know, it's kind of hard to sort of. Once again, I'm in that same situation I was in high school. You know, it's like you got to sort of find your niche. So some guys ended up transferring out. I wasn't going to do that. Some guys ended up moving over to defensive back, and some guys became running backs, and then a lot of us just ended up having to tough it out. But basically, you know, you go from being, you know, the 3rd, 4th receiver in that rotation to being the, you know, where you technically, you know, if you're the 3rd or 4th guy in Coach Erickson's system, you're your first team. Right. You know what I'm saying? Now you're second team, and they got young guys like Magic Benton coming in. So, you know, you sort of get caught there in the numbers. It's like, okay, we got guys here that's going to carry us for the next 2 years, and we're grooming these guys to sort of replace them. And I was sort of in limbo. I was in limbo there. So, you know, I played quite a bit. But, you know, I was never like the featured guy. So my senior year, Jamie German ended up blowing his knee out. So that gave me an opportunity to start. And then I started like the first 6 or 7 games. And then I ended up tearing my MCL. So I only played half my senior season. And Tony Gator was my backup. And he ended up getting drafted, you know. So Tony Gator was the guy that he was backing me up. And he comes in and he has a pretty good senior season. And he ended up getting drafted in like the 6th or 7th round. Yeah, was it to New England? It was either New England. I think he went to the Chargers first, or vice versa. I don't know if I think the Chargers drafted him, and then he ended up in New England.
You ever think about going into coaching?
I remember when I stopped playing, Coach Davis had actually asked me if that was something that I wanted to do, but I got married in college. So what happens is that you have to go through 2 years as a graduate assistant before you can actually become a coach. So one, I couldn't do that for 2 years and and support a family. They pay for you to get your master's degree, so you're taking classes and all of that stuff. So you get to go to school for free, but you don't have housing. So the stipend that I would have been getting would have been very similar to what it was when we were playing. You know, it was like $1,200 a month, so I couldn't support a family off $1,200 a month. So the whole coaching thing just sort of, I brushed that under the rug. And even, looking back on it now, the coaches made okay money, but it wasn't great money. You know what I'm saying? So back at that time, my position coach was CJ Curtis Johnson. So he might have only been making $60,000 a year, and we're talking 1997. 1998. So you see these coaches on TV and you think that they're making a whole lot of money. And at the time, coaching, you had college coaches making what, a high school PE or a high school football coach may have been making. It really, at Miami, it wasn't much difference.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I guess people just came to Miami for the opportunity. So it would have made more sense then for me to do it, but I just couldn't because I had a family.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
responsibility.
Yeah, you have to do what's right. I can remember the first job that I had, I was selling insurance at the National Planning Corp down in Brickell, and I made like 75, 80 grand. So where I looked at it, I'm like, I'm making more money than the guys that coach me now, and there's no expectations, you know what I mean? So I ended up having a brief little stint with the Dolphins where I went and tried out and everything, and it didn't work, and they called me back the following year. I was like, I'm in no better shape now than I was then. So, I sort of figured this thing out, and I'll be all right one way or the other. You know what I mean? So, I think league minimum when I came out might have been $130,000. You know what I mean? So, but the family thought that you were making millions. You know what I mean? So, 130,000 back in those days didn't take you a whole long way. So, making 80,000 in the real world compared to 130,000 from the NFL. My way of life, I probably lived better not even playing in the league. You know what I mean? So, I think all in all, I think that was like a godsend, and I see guys now that come, that have retired from the league and they're trying to figure it out at 30 or 35 years old, and it's like, where do I start? You know what I'm saying? But, I've been out here since I was 23 years old, so I know the commissioners, I know all these people in the community, you know what I'm saying? So I'm like 20 years ahead of most of them when it just comes to getting business done.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So
that's what counts.
Yeah, so at the end of the day, they get guys that end up playing in the league to get the upfront money, they get the responsibilities, they get the limelight, but it's more about the connections that you're able to make. So if you haven't made any connections while you're playing and you come out here and you're naked, you know what I mean, you sort of get lost. You know what I mean? And that's why a lot of guys end up going into coaching, and people are like, why would you, you made millions and millions of dollars, why would you want to go into coaching and you're working 12, 13 hours a day and going through all of this stuff? But a lot of them, when they retire, they're probably already broke, or have very little money coming in, and you don't collect on your pension until you're like 45 years old. So a lot of people don't realize that, you know what I'm saying? So there's drawbacks to playing a lengthy career, and there's benefits to actually getting out and getting to know the movers and the shakers in each respective community. You know what I'm saying? Right. So I've been able to do that, join some different chambers and just navigating my life in the professional realm. You know what I'm saying? Right. So I ended up getting my degree from Miami in finance and management, and I've done real estate, I've done insurance, I've done mortgages, I've done it all, you know what I mean? And now I'm actually in the automotive industry, you know what I mean? So I was actually working in a mortgage company just as the recession was about to hit, and there was a alumni awards banquet being held at the Biltmore. And the guy that I was working with, Alex Frazier, he played basketball as well at the University of Miami. He had invited me to this gala that they had there, and I ran into Mr. Williamson in the bathroom. And and
Mr. Williamson is the owner.
Is the owner of a Cadillac. At the time, they had Cadillac and Hummer at that dealership. Now we have Cadillac, Buick, and GMC at the dealership. So we also have used cars. So I ended up talking to him for like 2-3 hours. I had never met him before, but he had always had a contract with the University of Miami, so all of the coaches had cars from Williamson Cadillac cars. So you see the car, you see the coaches driving the car, but I never knew the person. So that's how we ended up having the conversation. So we went all the way back to Coach Erickson and told stories about him and stories about Coach Davis. And at the time, Larry Coker, who was the offensive coordinator when I was in school, the last 2 years with Butch Davis, he was the offensive coordinator. He had become the head coach. So I had stories to tell on all of them. So we were just sitting there chopping it up, you know what I mean, and talking. But before we knew it, an hour and a half, 2 hours had passed, and we ended up exchanging cards. And, you know, in the mortgage industry at the time, you know, all the subprime lenders were sort of vanishing. You know, the phones weren't ringing as much because the recession was hitting. So you could just sort of see the writing on the wall. You know, so I was like, I'm going to have to find another way to make some money. And I actually lived at the time, I was living right up the street from the dealership. So one morning I called him and he was like, sure, come on over. So I went over there. And with me having a finance degree, I was thinking maybe I could do accounting or something upstairs. And we talked, when I got there, we talked for another 2 hours. You know, he's like, you know, if I give you this job in accounting, you're not going to make much money because you're just going to get a set salary. Right. But I have something better for you. I was like, better for me? He's like, yeah, I got something better for you. So he introduced me to the general sales manager, and we started talking, and he ended up having the general manager, and a couple more managers came in and interviewed me. And that's how I started selling cars. You know, I always thought that you had to like either one, like cars, which, you know, to me a car is just a car, you know what I mean? Yeah. And two, you know, like you had to know something about the cars. I mean, I still, to this day, I've been working at Williamson Cadillac for 12 years. I can't change oil. I can probably barely change a tire, you know what I mean? You know, but I can sell, you know, I can talk to people. People trust me, you know, and that's made the biggest difference. I believe it's just my relationships with people and being able to convey a message to them that the car is going to be safe, that I'm there for them if they need anything. You know, I feel like I'm like kind of like a car doctor. You know what I mean? Yeah. You know, I have to get up every morning at 5 o'clock because by 7 o'clock, somebody's battery is going to be dead, somebody's tire is going to be flat, you know, and I'm going to have to be there to sort of navigate them to get back up and running. So I belong to everybody from say like 7 o'clock until 10 o'clock at night. I belong to the world, so the only time that I have for myself is like between 5 and 7. So that's why I have to get up early in the morning and get my workout in and clear my head, you know, and focus on myself. So yeah, but I've been doing the car thing now for about 12 years. As a matter of fact, May 6th, I believe, was made my 12th year in the automotive industry. So all the things that I learned from football, there was a direct correlation in sales. You know, it requires discipline, hard work, persistence. You know, being able to, you know, you got to have a short-term memory. You know, because you know the way sales works is, you know, you might have to go through 4 no's to get that one year. Yeah. And you know, when we played, you know, it was like, you know, you could drop a pass on one play and you could have the game winner 3 plays later, you know what I mean? Yeah. So, you know, you just got to keep at it, you know what I mean? So it's been one of those things that, you know, I don't want to let myself down. I don't want to let my family down. I love the Williamsons like they are my family. You know, I don't want to let them down. So I just keep going, you know, and, you know, I was like, I'm just going to do this until the recession ends, you know. And, you know, I've always been kind of like, I don't think mortgages will ever come back to where they were before the recession. You know, unless you're working at a bank now, they've assumed a lot of the lending arms and stuff like that. So it's not as free as,
Trump was trying to do something.
Yeah, but because he wants it to be a major fallout, I believe. Yeah. I think he thrives in chaos.
Billionaires like that do. They
want chaos.
They want problems running and scrambling. Yeah. So they can just scoop up
everything because they want to buy everything for a penny on the dollar. Because they know that when everybody else is suffering, they're still gonna have a penny. Yeah. We might not have a penny. Yeah. But they're gonna buy everything at a penny on the dollar. You know what I mean? And our credit's going to be all jammed up. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Everybody, I can remember back in between 2006 and 2008, everybody became real estate moguls. Oh, I got a property here and I'm going to rent this out. I'm going to buy this pre-construction. You know, before I'm going to flip it 2 times. You know, and make $200,000-300,000 on it before I even have a mortgage on it. You know what I mean? But it was like the Wild Wild West, man, and renegades. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I'm like, where is the money? You know, at some point somebody's gonna have to live in this $500,000 condo. Somebody's gonna have to live in this 5-bedroom, 3-bedroom house. Yeah. You know, bathroom house. Somebody's gonna have to live in it. Yeah. You know, and you know, you had all these exotic mortgages where, you know, stated this, stated that, you know, and interest only, and you know, for 5 years. So what happens in 3 or 5 years when that principal kicks in? You know what I mean? And
balloon payments
and all of that. You know, it was just a recipe for disaster. And I told everyone, I'm like, you know, when I'm just sitting back looking at how we're able to get deals done, and you had people that were sanitation workers that were making $30,000-$40,000 that were getting approved for homes that were $350,000.
Yeah, it was crazy.
It was just like you just knew, like this deal is not gonna work out. Yeah. You know what I mean? But you gotta eat. Yeah. You know what I mean? And you were able to sort of move things around in a certain way, and you know, to get deals bought, you know, and to get through underwriting and stuff like that. But it was just a wild, wild west. Yeah, you know what I mean?
I remember I came back home. I was in the military at the time, and I came back home in 06, and like Miami was a different animal. It was a whole different animal. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, well, I'm down here. I'm gonna be down here 3 to 5 years. I'm gonna be stationed here. Right. Let me get a house. Mm-hmm. So I went house hunting, and the cheapest thing I looked at was like $350, $360. And I was looking at, I was like, damn, I ain't gonna put myself in that kind of trouble to try to get a house. Right. Cause I know I'm gonna leave. And I was like, and I would see like couples come in, 4 or 5 kids. The wife don't work. The dad got on the county uniform, and they leaving out with keys. Right. I'm like, this joker making $40,000, right. 50 at best. Right. I was making 70, 80. Right. And I'm scared. I'm scared to get in the 350 house. Exactly. How they happy? Exactly. So it was just.
I'll give you a story. Before I had started doing the mortgages, I was working at a vocational school for nursing, like things in the medical field. So they had programs like EMT, LPN, stuff like that. So I'm working at one of those. So there was some like townhomes up in Doral. So I didn't want to be in Homestead, but I didn't want to be as far north where I had to, you know, be close to work all the time. Yeah. So I started looking at some townhomes in Doral. And I'll never forget, in a 6-month period, I was looking at those townhomes, and they went from $150,000 between Doral and Miami Gardens. It went from $150,000. I went a month later, they were $175,000. I went another month later, they were at $200,000. Lo and behold, by the time between January and June of that same year, a 3-2 townhouse was going from anywhere from $320,000 to $360,000. I was like, Miami, we got a problem.
We got a serious problem.
$360,000. Like, I just couldn't. How people were doing it, how the banks and how some of these loan companies were even able to do that paper. It didn't numerically. I'm a numbers person. Numerically, it just didn't make sense to me. Here. You know, so I knew that it was just a matter of time before things hit the fan, and they did. You know, because like I said, when people were getting these places pre-construction, you know, $400,000, and they were saying that it was going to be worth $600,000 before they even close or have a mortgage on it. So I'll be able to sell it before I even close on it, and this and that, you know, and they got caught holding the bag. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because by the time that $400,000 house you closed on it, it was only worth $150,000, which was probably about $150,000 house all along.
And then a lot of those had that Chinese drywall.
Yeah.
So you know the whole industry was
it was
crooked. It was crooked.
It was
from
top to bottom. You
know. Yeah, but they said what it was like. It was a market correction. They say. Everybody says the industry crashed,
right? But
you would look at it from a numbers perspective. You say, nah, it's just the market is just correcting itself,
right?
Because it couldn't hold it financially. You couldn't keep pushing.
It's the same problem. It's the same problem we encounter here now. You know what I mean? If you look at salaries, you know what the average person in Miami makes, and you look at what people are selling their homes for. I drive around now and I see a for sale sign all over the place, but it's in, you know, on my way to work I have to go through Cutler Cay, and I got to go through out here on Old Cutler, Palmetto Bay, and Pinecrest, and everybody's trying to get out of their home because if they don't get out, they're probably going to get put out really soon from the mortgages that they're paying on them. But you know, if you can get out of your house now, you make $200,000 or $300,000, and maybe you move. You know what I mean? I don't know what the situation is, but you know, everybody, you know, when you talk to realtors, they're like, "Oh, there's no inventory." I'm like, I see inventory all over the place.
That's that really
because everyone is selling their house. The people that have houses everything is for sale. You know what I mean? You name your price at this time. You know what I mean? But I don't think that the people that are buying these properties are from here. You know, I think that there's people from Venezuela, a lot of South American, Russian money, you know, that's actually stimulating the economy here. But the people that actually live here, the people are actually on the brink of having to move just to afford to live, because salaries haven't gone up to withstand the price increases on homes. You know what I mean?
I was talking about that with somebody else, I think about a week ago, and I was saying the same thing. I was like, the market is about to correct itself again.
It's going to have to.
Because we didn't learn from 06.
They learned. But there are people that, like we alluded to earlier, there are people that profit from the chaos. It's not for us to profit. It's not the average, you know, average working family to actually get in a home, stay in that house for 30, 40 years and live good. That's not the American dream anymore. They got to throw a monkey wrench in there to disrupt your life. You know what I mean? And salaries in Miami has never really been that high because we don't really have a corporate structure here. You know what I'm saying? You have Carnival Cruise Line, you have Ryder. Burger King I think they're moving their headquarters, but there's no Fortune 500 companies here. Everybody, we're the byproduct of each other. Everybody in Miami hustles. You know, so either you hustle and you have your own business, or you get a county job, or you become a corrections officer or something like that. You still got to do something on the side now, you know, to live good. You know, so that's what's happening now. You know, you look at the prices of some of the homes and what people have to pay monthly on those mortgages now, you know, because you don't have the exotic mortgages that you had back in the previous, you know, before things got crazy with the recession. So there are people really walking around here, you know, living in probably a $200,000 house that now you have to buy it, or you just missed the wave. You're gonna have to buy something at $450,000, $500,000 if you want something halfway decent, or you're gonna have to live way down south. You know what I mean? And even for the prices that you have to get stuff down south, it's still a lot of money. It's not like they're giving them away in Homestead. You know, if they gave me 3 acres, you know what I mean, out in the Redlands for $250,000, I'd do it all day long. You know what I mean? But they're not doing that. You got 0 lot lines. You fart and your neighbor smell it, you know what I mean? And they want $350,000, $400,000 in Homestead. You know what I mean? It's just like the numbers just don't.
It don't work.
Just don't work.
And
you know what I mean?
Taxes is killing too.
You know. So you know, but it's a major problem. You know, I guess if you're on the other side of it and you're selling real estate and you speak the lingo, you know what I mean, and you're able to convince some investors to come in here and buy up a whole bunch of property because maybe their economy isn't that stable in their country, it makes a whole lot of sense, and you're going to do well selling. But for the average person that's trying to buy something now for their family, and to have some stability between rent prices and what you're going to pay to own a home, when it's crazy.
It's crazy. The good thing about it is, like, I'm on that other side of real estate. So I've been in the real estate industry since 2003, and just watching it and seeing it, and a lot of it is just like you said. It's just you got to catch that wave as it's going up.
Right.
Buy that property and then kind of develop and sell it to the fools.
Exactly.
Sell it to the fools that still believe that.
As long as you're in the right place. Cause I remember, I had got my mama house down in Hartford Square, and this is no lie, Quincy. We put the house on. This is when things were going through the roof. Bought that house for $70,000. I put the house on the market on a Friday. The house was sold that Sunday for $225,000.
Gee, I wish I could have caught that one.
Like that. 3 days.
I wish I could.
3 days.
But that's the greater thing about Miami. Like, say for instance, I bought during that 06 to about 09 time frame is when, like, I started my business. When me looking at the Miami market, so I'm going back to North Carolina and I'm buying a house because it was the opposite of what Miami was doing.
Exactly.
Miami was going through the roof.
Right.
North Carolina was diving.
Right.
So I was buying houses there, $18,000.
Correct.
House.
Right.
Not a car. House.
Yeah, house. Right.
I bought it during that time frame. I bought 7 homes that I still own now.
Okay.
And I didn't pay over $30,000 for none of them.
Wow.
So I'm looking at that, and I'm like, looking at Miami. I'm like, man, if these houses can correct up the way Miami do,
right,
I kill them.
You're correct.
But in like now, this 2018, I'm just now starting to see property value increase.
Right, in
for
Carolina,
those North Carolina houses.
Yeah.
Like now, some of them that I bought for $30,000, worked on them, they worth $100,000,
right,
$110,000.
And that's what you want.
Yeah,
that's what you want.
So it's about time to put some on the market.
Right.
Well,
you can use the rental income on a few, and you can cash out of a few.
Yeah, I got the I've been collecting rent like since 2003.
Okay.
So I'm all right. I'm doing okay.
Yeah.
Financially, I ain't hurting.
Right.
But I want to make some more moves. I think the market down here in Miami, I think a lot of people is missing it. Is it's the smaller apartments, the 20 and below, because the big boys in Venezuela and
they're buying up everything.
They buying everything else, and then they funding a lot of the single family development.
Correct.
So right now, and in the big apartments that's being built is also being funded by institutional money,
right,
and then that foreign money.
Right.
So a lot of these 10 to 20 unit
duplexes and stuff like that.
Apartments, little small apartments, they on sale for $350,000,
right,
$400,000. That's cheap.
Right.
So because if I had to do it all over in 06, I would have been doing that.
Right.
Buying apartments, at that time, I think I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Right.
I was like, I'm about to do this.
Right.
So
I know some people that did some of that stuff. Out in the Jimmy Lee had all that stuff out there in their moms.
Yeah.
And he got off some of that stuff to an athlete, and he sold it to him for a really, really high price, man. Yeah. And that cat got caught holding that bag. Hey. He got caught holding the bag. You got to do your numbers. Like, that's the thing that most people, like, they don't understand about real estate. They understand, hey, I want to buy it for $60 and I want to sell it for $200. There you go.
But it's a lot of information in between there that if you don't know, if you don't know how to run the numbers, and you don't know anything about the market, you can get caught.
Yeah.
You can get caught up. Yeah. And then if you're not savvy in the real estate, you don't know how to make it turn.
Exactly.
You don't know even if you get caught with the bag, you can still turn it.
Exactly. All you need is time. Yeah, all you need is some time.
You can at least break even.
But what happens is you everybody's like a lot of this other stuff. You get caught listening, and everybody got the next wave. This is the new thing, and everybody's doing it. Well, what I've come to realize, just like with the mortgage industry when everybody was flipping the properties and doing the whole pre-construction thing, and we always get the information last.
Yeah.
You know,
by the time we get it,
it's done. so you know, when everybody talking about this Bitcoin,
I ain't even get excited.
You know, and all every year is something different. You know what I mean? You know, I remember a couple of years ago they were selling. Everybody got into the selling your gold. If you know unused gold, you sell it. You know, because it's over 1,000. You know, an ounce and yada yada yada. You know, so everybody did that. You know, but it's just every year it's been something.
Yeah.
You know, where you can get this money quick. You know what I mean? You know, I'm just one of those people. I don't mind working hard. You know what I mean? I like the steady flow of seeing the fruits of my labor. You know, I don't need to get rich quick because I don't believe that. I don't believe in it. You know, to be honest with you, it's not gonna happen. You know what I mean? So, you know, but next year it'll be something else. You know what I mean?
And it goes back to what you said. Most athletes have it. Most successful athletes, that's just discipline.
Right.
You gotta have that discipline. You gotta have a game plan and be disciplined enough to follow that, regardless of whatever.
Anything that's you know, it's because every day somebody pitching. You know, somebody. It's always a bartering system. You know, somebody, you got buyers and sellers every day. You know what I'm saying? And the more you listen, it sounds intriguing. You know what I mean? You're like, okay, that sounds about right. I could go for that. But if you don't know enough about it, you know, and you know, I'm also one of those people that. I had a buddy of mine that called me with this opportunity on this travel thing. You know, he was doing this, I guess, like some network marketing type thing. I'm like, I said, you know, that's all fine and dandy if that works for you. If you want, you know, he's like a 50-year-old guy, you know, and he wants to travel now. They got an empty nest. The kids are gone. They're all older and all of this stuff. So it's a way for him and his wife to get travel at a discounted rate. And all of this stuff. I'm like, yeah, you know, but I'm still building, bro. You know, I mean, right now, I'm not interested in starting a business like that, because in order for me to start going to a business, I got to be passionate about it. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. Something has to be me. It has to sort of fit me in some way, shape, or form to where I can see myself, put myself in that box and know that I'm going to flourish in it. Because some way, somehow, I got a little knowledge about it. I can be passionate about it. But if the second that it's going to take me out of my element of what I do naturally, day in and day out, that's not for me. You know what I mean? Yeah. You know, you know where because even with me selling cars, I'm not really selling. You know, if you need a car, you're going to pick up the phone and you're going to say, hey, Jay, you know, I'm looking for this. I'm not calling anybody. You know what I mean? So if you put me in a situation where I got to pick up the phone and I got to call somebody, and I'm not that type of salesperson. You know what I mean? That's not my thing. You know, you got different, even within at our dealership, you know, you got some gorillas. Yeah. And you got some people that are a little bit more passive, you know what I mean? You know, my style isn't aggressive at all. You know, I'm not, if I got to get in your face and spit in your face to get you to buy something from me, it's, if somebody, people couldn't sell me that way, you know what I mean? Yeah. So I always put myself in the other person's shoes. You know, I can empathize, you know, and be like, you know what, I wouldn't want somebody forcing or cramming something. Yeah. And the worst sale that I've had is when I sell a car and the next day the person sitting at the dealership waiting on me to come in, and I get there and they tell me, you know, I just did this impulsively. You know, think it out. Go home. Think it through, talk it over with your wife, you know what I mean? Yeah. So that way when you come back and we sit down and we do this thing one time and we're done, you know what I mean? But there's some people that'll ram it down your throat, and then you got, you know, it's gonna take you another 6 months to unwind it all or to convince that person that they made the right decision, you know what I'm saying? It takes too much energy, man, you know what I mean? So, you know, I told the dude, I say, you know, if that's your passion, man, follow it. If real estate's your passion, follow it. You know, Ham's doing the gold thing. If that's your passion, you got to follow it. You know what I mean? You know, if I want to take on swimming the Atlantic Ocean. If that's my passion, I'm gonna do it. You know what I'm saying? Can't nobody tell me no different. You know what I mean? It don't mean you got to come out there and swim with me. You know what I mean? But you know, everybody. I think we all have our niches, and we all have a certain skill set to be successful. Don't make me and all of us have to do the same thing. You know,
that's the network marketing thing. I had a little stint in a network marketing business, and I probably made like $5 or $6. I was doing it. And,
I have to do it. I say, man, how many times I got to come to a meeting? He's like, oh, we meet every like, bro, if I got to meet, I got to get on a phone call, I got to meet, I just don't have the time to do all of that stuff. Follow your passion. You know what I mean?
I was in this little network marketing thing, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to go all out. I'm going to do whatever it is you say I got to do. I'm going to do it. And I was going to the meetings. I was going to the different states to go to the conferences.
You was always
I said, I'm going to go and do this thing.
Right.
And I had worked hard at it for about 6 months, man. And I had got my first check. You know, they sent my check in the mail. I opened it up, and it was like $3 and some change, man. And I was like,
all this work, right? All these meetings.
I ain't going to be able to do this.
Yeah.
But the great thing about it, about that little stint that I had in network marketing, was that the understanding the inner workings of business. I got a good business education out of it, and then I got a good framework for personal development.
Right.
Outstanding. And I still do it today. I still pick my 12 books every year. I still read once a month a book.
That's good.
And that was as you say, you know, that God saying it wasn't meant for me to be a great network marketer. But what I got out of
the skills, you picked up some skills from it.
I picked up some skills from it. I picked up, just like you're saying, like you have to hear 5 or 6 no's before you get a 1. I picked up that, you know, you build that thick skin,
right,
and not be so attached to whatever the product is.
Right. Exactly.
You know, so you just take that education and keep moving.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I know we wanted to hit up your Voters Rock.
Oh, Voting Rocks. Yeah. I started that. That was kind of weird because you know, I'm not the most politically astute person, but I had a buddy of mine that was in like club promotions and stuff, and we were sitting down talking one day about different themes that you could have to throw parties. So, you know, everybody had an all white party, all black party, 70s party, you know, and all this kind of stuff. So we were just throwing some stuff out there, brainstorming basically on a different way that he could market a party. And my son calls me, and at the time he was 11 and living in Jamaica. So, you know, we were having a conversation, and he's like, oh, what do you got? What are you doing, Dad? I was like, oh, I'm just here with Uncle Dex having a conversation about throwing some parties and stuff like this, you know. And he was like, well, like, what do y'all come up with? So I told him, you know, all the random little stuff, and he was like, oh, okay. Well, why don't you just do a party and make everybody that bring their voters registration card, if they bring their voters registration card, they can get in free. we looked at each other the same way. Me and you just looked at each other. You know what I mean? Like, okay, all right, that makes a whole lot of sense. You know, that's different. You know what I mean? So that night, for some reason, I'm just tossing and turning. And at like 6 o'clock, I get up that morning, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, my son is 11 years old. Why don't more 11-year-old kids think this way? You know what I'm saying? Like, voting matters. You know what I'm saying? Like, every kid should think that. You know, I started playing football when I was like 8 years old, organized football. You know, everything that we do in life, you know, you get prepared to do it. So they didn't just throw me out in the Orange Bowl and say, okay, we got 80,000 people out here to watch you play football, and like I never touched one before. You know what I mean? Even with basketball, everything that you've done, you start doing these things at an early age. You get a discipline for it. You practice. All of these things. But for some reason, in this country, it's one of the best countries in the world to live in, because we do live in a democracy, but they don't prepare kids for voting.
Right.
They've removed civics from schools, so you don't really even, we had current events and we watched the news, and they don't have any of the things that we had in schools. I don't know if you go now, they don't have a band. They don't have arts, and they don't have the arts, all the stuff that we had growing up. If you go into schools now, it's depleted.
Yeah.
There's wings that aren't even being used in schools. You know what I'm saying? Like,
they're just teaching the test now.
That's a whole nother subject. That's a whole nother subject. But we'll get there. We'll get there. So, so for me, I was just thinking to myself, I'm like, if there was a way that I had a platform where I could, Rock the Vote has always dealt with kids that were in college, to sort of like galvanize the vote, what I'm saying, get them rowdy, so they go out and they get rappers and entertainers and all these people to sort of get their message out, but it's only like during election season and stuff like that. But they never really go back to high schools because there's no money, there's no funding. Nobody, the Democrats don't care about a person that's not going to be able to go and vote. Yeah. And the Republicans damn sure don't want you to go out and vote. So that you're not going to get any money from them either. You know what I mean? So all in all, that was the first thing that I came up with. I'm like, like how do you fund it? There must be a reason that Rock the Vote isn't doing this, because I have an 11-year-old son that says that voting is important. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's a party thing. More kids should be eager. Just like that, just like you're eager to get your driver's license at 16, or you're eager to turn 21 so you can have your first drink in that club. Yeah. You know what I mean? The same eagerness and anticipation, you should have that for getting your voter's registration card. Yeah. And I'm gonna tell you, when I had the first party that we did that for, the amount of people that called me and was like, "Hey man, I can't find my card right now, but can I still get in the party for free?" I'm like, man, that defeats the whole purpose of the theme of the party, man. Yeah. Like, I tell you what, if you come, you're gonna pay them $10 to get in. But I have a little booth on the side, and we're gonna register you to vote, and then you can get it taken care of from there. You know what I mean? So that was the whole gist of the thing. So I always go out. They have like, men read. So everybody, the ladies and principals of schools and stuff, they call me. I go out to the elementary schools. I go out to the middle schools. I go out to the high schools. I do some things like on through parks and recreations. Just basically, it's not to like incite a kid into voting one way or the other way. What I want to do is just plant a seed. Inform them. You know what I mean? I don't overload people with information either. I just want to plant a seed, because if I give a kid a T-shirt that says Voting Rocks, in the back of it might sit back there for 6 years, 7 years. And they're gonna wear that shirt, and somebody gonna see that shirt, and it's gonna say Voting Rocks. Well, at some point, something's gonna trigger their brain. It might be the day that card comes in the mail. You know what I mean? It might be the day that they find themselves in a jam, and the people say, "Well, your voting privileges are gonna be taken away now that you've been convicted of a felony." You know what I mean? One day they're going to remember there was a man that was sitting in the classroom that was talking to them about voting. You know what I'm saying? So that's been like my crusade for the past 7-8 years, and the state of our democracy now, man, and everything that's going on is just, it's so necessary.
We need that.
You know what I mean?
That is such a big, because like, in our communities, we just don't vote. And then the thing about it is, we don't vote in the local election.
Exactly. People don't understand. That's more important to us. Our everyday stuff. You know what I mean?
That affects you.
How our funds going to be allocated for education. Parks and recreation, jobs. You know what I mean? Which candidate is going to be bringing more jobs and businesses in the area? Get more grants to start new businesses. You know what I mean? So it's a lot that goes on behind the scenes, but we have not grasped the importance of it. And like I said, man, I do all that I can, and the biggest thing for me is to get kids. The biggest reason that I target the kids is because they don't realize what they're up against in society. It's easy. I could easily say, turn my nose up and say, I make this amount of money now. I'm past that and not give anything back to my community. Just focus on my kids. You know what I mean? But our kids are they're under more scrutiny than we ever were growing up. They have a test that is designed for them to fail. Now, you mentioned that the schools are teaching the test now. I think that some way, somehow, that the whole FCAT thing got thrown to the wayside. They still have a test, but it's not. Bush's whole thing was no child left behind. That was their thing, no child left behind. But it actually did leave all of our kids behind. Quincy, when we were in school, you graduated when you were 18. You were 17, 18, depending on when your birthday was, when you graduated. There are kids right now that are still in middle school that are 19 years old.
That's crazy.
19. Something is wrong with that system.
Yeah.
But they put a roadblock on a kid in 3rd grade. They put another one. It's like giving them hurdles. So you can't pass to the 4th. You can't. In the third, what can they be teaching you at 3rd grade that if you're doing your schoolwork and you've passed, how could they give you a test to assess you at that level to where you can't be promoted to the next grade? They said that there were going to be no children left behind, and in essence, that's exactly what it was designed to do. It was to leave kids behind. So they're taking now they're taking 3rd grade reading scores, and that determines how many prisons they need to build 10, 15 years down the road. It is a system that is designed to imprison us. It is a system that is designed to kill us. No matter how right you are, no matter how wrong you are. We've seen it play out over the past 2-3 years right in front of our eyes. I see a man that gets pulled over for a speeding ticket, or his light might be out, and he has a warrant for his arrest. The man jumps out of his car and flees the police officer because he has a warrant. And this man gets gunned down in the back. Now, I don't know how you could feel your life is being threatened to shoot somebody in the back. But that gets pushed to the wayside. The biggest thing that and no one even mentions this with that particular case, is that the man wrote up a false report.
Yes.
He wrote up a false report.
Yes.
And he put a weapon on him.
Yes.
And
his video of it.
And his video and all he got was fired.
Yep.
There's a man dead.
Yeah.
What did he do to warrant being killed? And we can go down a long list of things that have played out right in front of our eyes over the past 3-4 years, man, and it just doesn't make sense. And like I said, it's easy for people to reach a certain level of success and say, this isn't my problem, it's not my fight. You know what I mean? But just that was somebody's husband. That could have been me. That's somebody's father. Yeah. That's somebody's son. That's somebody's dad. You know what I'm saying? So it does bother me because it could have easily been me. Yep. It could have easily been my son. It could have easily been my father. It could have easily been you. Yep. You know what I mean? And that's just the way that I look at things. You know what I'm saying? Yep. And that's the problem that I have with it. So what I do when I'm around people in a certain setting, and we're talking about these tough issues like that, I say, you say you like me, right? Mm-hmm. So yeah, I said, well, what if that had happened to me? Because it's so easy for them to call, they with the Trayvon, they say, oh, well, he got expelled from school because he was smoking, or this and that, and they change the narrative, even the way that the media, point certain things out. But this is the reason, Quincy, why I go to the schools, because there's nobody in our neighborhoods. Just like I told you, we were an island, and there were kids that were way more talented than me in where I come from. The Harry Damons, Tomo Damon. I mean, there were some kids that it didn't have to be football, but Harry could have played basketball, football, or baseball. Shannon Stewart ended up playing. I mean, it was kids that I knew growing up that were just athletically gifted. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But trouble sort of has a way of finding you. Mm-hmm. When you come from where we come from, you know what I mean?
It's easy to get
into, and it's hard to get out of, you know what I mean? So what if I'm not going to those schools, and there were plenty of times where I could have jumped in the car when they were going to do this, or they were going to do that, when we're going to go and steal some cars today. I had enough inside of me to say, nah, y'all go and do y'all thing, you know what I mean? Or we're gonna go and rob the Circle K today, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right across the street, you're gonna go right there, the place that they know we going by big gulps from here every day. You don't go here and rob this store, huh? Yeah, we gonna go in. So how much you gonna get out of the Circle K? You know what I mean? When I go back to, I'm a numbers person. The ends have to justify the means, Yeah. But the things that you have kids now that they don't eat unless they're in school. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's so many the things that there's little girls being molested at home by uncles and stepdads and stuff like that. There was another, I can remember, like when we were in school, I had a nephew that's about 8-9 years younger than me. They started hitting us with the labels. We had LD. Then you heard ADD, and then it's ADHD, and all these different labels. But the schools were getting funding because they had so many kids that were labeled this. And so now, rather than having behavior modification, they start writing prescriptions for these kids. So now you got kids on Ritalin. By the time those kids become adults, you got them on Prozac and all these other mental health drugs, because one thing leads to the next thing, which leads to the next thing, and then you wonder why kids are shooting up schools and all of this stuff.
Brain snap.
Because they've been on medication since they were 6. What we did, we got a whooping.
Yeah.
We got a paddle, whether had it been in school, we got paddle. The PE teacher had the paddle in there, or you went to the principal office and they you got the business. They're like, you want to go and deal with your mama, or you want us to deal with this here? I'm like, I deal with this right here. Let's go on and get with it. Right, give me them 3. You want to go home for 3 days, or you want 3 whacks? Give me them 3 whacks. You know what I mean? But that's what these kids are. They are dealing with things that me at their age, there's no innocence in kids anymore. Yeah. You know what I mean? If you look at the information, that you can get, you got porn on your phone. You got, it's so much information that you can get just from your phone. You don't even have to research it. You can Google anything. Yeah. We had to go and get encyclopedias to write papers. You know what I mean? Like there are sites you can go on and it's going to write the paper for you. Like these kids have access to everything. It's like a microwave society. You can get it right now. You don't have to work for anything. Yep. It's all right there. So the stress that these kids deal with is unlike any stress that I'm an adult and I don't have the stress to impress anybody like my kids do.
Man, we was just talking about this last night at the track practice. After track practice, some of the parents came up and was like, you know, she was showing me some stuff, and she was showing me the prom pictures that these kids got. The parents got them written Maserati, Lamborghini.
They go in coffins, you know, because they're gonna kill. They're gonna kill the prom, so they're coming in the prom in a casket. In a casket, man.
But this is the crazy part. Like all of these schools, South Day, Homestead, South Ridge, they going like that. All they things are spinning out like that. And then the parent looked up Columbus and Lower, and then the kids had Uber to the damn prom. They had like them little Roses or TJ Maxx dress on, JC Penney suit, and all of the group Uber to the prom.
Well, you know, to be honest, the majority of those kids know that's just one step. They got to go to college.
Exactly.
It's not the end of the road.
That's what I said. That's not the end of the road. We, as a black community, we got to stop making it seem like high school is it.
No, man.
That's it. This is the beginning.
No.
You get to high school,
I'll never
forget the beginning of the.
I was fortunate enough, Quincy, when I went to college, because I redshirted, I had another year eligibility. Mm-hmm. I went to my mom's house for Mother's Day up in Moorhaven, and I'm looking through some of the pictures. Like I hadn't seen them pictures in years, man. But I'm just looking at the look on my face, and it was like I hadn't done anything. I hadn't accomplished nothing. You know what I mean? Like, and I was the first person in my family to graduate. Everybody in my family had gone in the military, man. I never forget the day that I came back and told my mom. I was like, Mom, I ain't going in the military. She's like, what the hell are you gonna do then? You know, I'm like, well, I'm going to college. I ain't got no college money. You know what I mean? I ain't got nothing to give you. How you planning on going to college? I was like, well, you ain't gonna have to pay nothing, Mom. I'm gonna get a scholarship and I'm gonna play on TV and I'm gonna do this. She just couldn't see it. Yeah. You know what I mean? And you know, but it's just you know, that's why like I look at my son now, you know, and he told me that he wanted to do music. I'm like, son, I can't see it. You know, I know how competitive that is, but if you can see it, I'm gonna ride with you until it don't make sense anymore. Mm-hmm. And when it don't make sense to me anymore, it's gonna be time for you to stop it. Mm-hmm. and do something that's logical. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But I'm not gonna kill your dream. If you're passionate about that, by any means, follow your passion. Yeah. If you're passionate about going in the military, go in the military. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I got whatever it is, but I'm not going to make you go to school, waste my money, and not do anything. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Be productive.
Be productive. Be passionate. Whatever your passion is, you follow it and you do it. You know what I mean? But I just, you know, to go back to what we were talking about, I was looking at the look on my face at that graduation, and it was like, man, this ain't nothing. Like, I'm just getting started. Yeah. You know what I mean? I'm at my college graduation, getting a master's, my bachelor's degree with a year left to go to I ended up picking up another major with that 5th year eligibility. Mm-hmm. But I mean, it was a look like, I don't think the look at my high school graduation was any different than it was for me getting that degree. You know what I mean? Because I just had so much to do, and I had so much more to prove. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I had so much on my shoulders. And I had 4 or 5 nephews that were coming up behind me, you know, mm-hmm. that I had to sort of set an example for them that, you know, y'all got to go further than this. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So I'm setting the benchmark, you know what I mean? Yeah. And I got it high. You know what I mean? But it's here for you guys to come and take it. Yeah. You know what I mean? So yeah, it all goes back to that you know, those same parents that come up with the money to get the Lamborghinis and the Maseratis and all this, to go and get the $1,500 suits and the $400 Ferragamo shoes for the prom. Yeah. Are the same parents that don't have enough money to get a kid a physical to play sports, that don't have enough money to send a kid on a retreat or something for a club or something that they're in, or to get their uniform to do something in drama club, or to become a cheerleader or whatever. Those same parents that mysteriously could come up with the money to do all these things, and it's also the parent that doesn't have a way to get to the PTA meetings, and they come to the school on the last day, and they're curious if that those same kids that did all of that, they don't even know if on the last day of school if their kid is going to graduate.
And that's crazy. They
don't know how many credits they have. They don't know anything because they haven't been there. But it's through hell or high water, they're going to have the best prom possible. You know, it's I guess it's just how we prioritize things. But you know, that's why, you know, I go out and I talk to these kids, because the day that you do something stupid out there, you know, you get in a fight, or you know, you hurt somebody, you end up shooting someone, or you steal that car, you get caught robbing someone or whatever, or you're selling drugs or whatever, the first thing that the judge is going to tell you, the first thing they're going to say is you'll never be able to vote again. And because Florida, especially here in Florida, because they don't, after you do your time, they don't automatically restore your rights. That's another issue we got here in Florida. But the second thing they tell you is that you're never going to be able to own a firearm. And I often ask myself, there's no two more things that are more American than one, being able to vote, and two, being able to carry a firearm.
Yep.
And you see it play out day in and day out on the news. They will fight through hell over high water about those two issues. At the end of the day, America is divided about those two issues. And all it takes for you to lose those two privileges is for you to be convicted of a felony. And you've lost both of those things that you see America fighting about every day. Every day it plays out on the news, it's going to come back to guns and voting.
Yep.
If you watch CNN, you watch local news, you watch any news, it's voting and guns.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's the American way. But you're less of an American if you mess up. And there's no parents telling their kids that. You know, it's like a badge of honor to be in the black community now and to get arrested.
It's crazy.
You're seen as cooler. It's like maybe there's a party going on in jail that we don't know nothing about. You know, maybe the food is different. Maybe the food different or something. You know what I mean? But it's almost like there's something that's there that you have to experience that, and there's not enough people in the community telling kids you don't want to go that route. You know what I mean? So, you know, that's where Voting Rocks comes in, man, because you got kids that are from the time they're 8. You know, the court system is trying kids as adults now. You know what I mean? They're not even giving them a chance. You know what I mean? Not unless, especially not our color. You know what I mean? If you're a little bit lighter, they're gonna say, okay, what was a mental health issue? You know, you mentally ill, and we're gonna get you some help in 3 or 4. You killed 9 people. You know what I mean? But we're gonna give you some medication, and then 5-10 years from now, you'll be able to come out and you're gonna be a productive citizen. But for us, you know, we sell CDs. You know, in the place that we ain't supposed to sell CDs, we got to get killed. You know, we got to get a traffic ticket. You know what I mean? A traffic stop. You know, we got to get killed. You know what I mean? Like it's just so crazy to. It's like it's almost like it's 2 sets of rules.
It is
in this country.
It's always been like that.
We were sold. Our generation was sold on a lie. Because we were always told that Martin Luther King got us equality. He fought for equality.
They sold us a bill of goods.
There is, and I don't think that in these people's mind, I don't think that there will ever be equality.
No, it ain't.
They will resist and they will fight equality to the end. What they granted us in the 60s was inclusion.
That's a big
difference. There's a big difference. we have a seat at the table. So they're not getting any more information than what we have. We're all sitting at the same table, we're eating the same food, but we're still not equal. So what I sit in a lot of chamber meetings and stuff like that, and I tell people, I say, I don't want to sit at the table no more, because I want equality, and if I'm not going to get equality, I'll get my own table.
Exactly.
It might be time for us to create our own table. You know what I mean?
I think it's past due.
Of course, but you have people that came up, and let's just say, I see a lot of guys, they might be in their late 50s, early 60s. There's no one willing to pass the baton to the next generation. Who's there passing something along to you at this point? There's nobody passing anything to me. Those guys from that generation that thought that we were equal, they're still holding on, because we were sold on a facade. We were sold some BS. You see what I'm saying? Now, it's going to take us, the people that have vision, that can see the truth. Because it's all isn't lost just because we were told a lie. People believe in the Tooth Fairy, and they believe in the Easter Bunny and all these different Santa Claus and all these different things. So it's a lot of things that you can dispute your belief system. You know what I mean? But because you were taught to believe certain things, but if you see the truth, you can act on it, and you can change some things. You know what I'm saying? You can change the narrative of certain things, and basically that's all I want to do is to give these kids a chance, because if I look at my kids now and I say, well, y'all, if I did it, you can do it. It's these kids they're living in a whole different society. The depression that comes from seeing your friend in a car on Instagram and you still walking. The pressure
in a Maserati.
Yeah, the pressure that kid, the kid that doesn't have is under
with 7-inch red bottoms on, and it's crazy.
It's a whole, like, we all went to the same tuxedo shop to get our tuxes. We didn't have many options, you know what I mean? So even if one person had on a gray one, this one had a black one, but it was the same tuxedo. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
These kids are facing things that we never, at a young age. The testing, the way that school is. You got kids now that are going into college that can't even write a sentence. You know what I mean? So how are you going to tell that kid they got to go to college when the education system hasn't even equipped them for that? You know what I mean? There has to be some other options. Or we got to fix the educational system, because it's flawed.
Yeah,
it's tragically flawed. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but it's just like you say. It's past time for us looking towards other people
for help,
educate our kids.
It's not going to happen
for our communities to address those issues. We have to get out.
I'll never forget. I can remember being in like the 3rd grade. And my mom and my dad had gotten divorced, and in the 3rd grade, man, I was probably the smartest person in my house. I'm dead serious, bro. I ain't lying. I'm 8 years old, man, and I was probably the smartest person in my house. You know what I mean? And it's not to knock anybody or anything, you know what I'm saying? But the pressure was a little different.
Right.
I never thought to myself, I gotta go and kill myself, you know what I mean? Right. Because I'm under so much pressure. But these kids now, there's things that they want to do, but they got 3 or 4 different siblings. They don't have any food to eat in the house. You know what I mean? Like we were poor, but we had food to eat, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like we didn't have, and that was how I rationalized things, because I used to go to the base and I would go to people's house in Hartford Square. I'd come down to Florida City. I'm like, well, shit, I ain't, if I'm poor, shit, everybody I know is poor, Because I got Frosted Flakes. I eat those. We got milk. A gallon of milk I got the same thing in my refrigerator that the people that think that they're so much better than me have too. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, having the base next to me, and they would talk about us like we were just garbage. Oh, y'all from the projects. You know what I mean? But I can look back now and I look at, Benny Cooper and Calvin Nixon and Gary Conley and Randall Carbs, all those guys, Carnell Brinson. We all went to college, man. You know what I mean? Everybody got out of those projects. You know what I mean? And a lot of those kids that came from the base and now after going to live with my sister and realizing how much people in the military made, you know what I mean? Especially like when you were enlisted, it wasn't a whole lot of money. So now I can understand how, despite the fact that you were in base housing, in reality, it was basically just like living in the project. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's all. So and literally it was a gate separating us. You know what I mean? From where Pine Island was to where the enlisted housing was. They even had that separated. You had the officers on one side of the base, and you had the enlisted on the other side. I'm like, y'all live in Phoenix, bro. Y'all only making that kind of money. You know what I mean? So it was just different, man. But the pressure that these kids are under these days, man, it's totally different. So you're doing your kids a disservice if you're a parent that has quote unquote made it, and you're doing well for yourself, and you tell them, well, if I made it, coming from the situation that I came from, you should be able to make it too. But it's a whole different set of parameters and things that's holding these kids back, because I don't think intentionally, that it was as bad, that they were just really trying to set us back when we were coming up. We had the Cosby Show. There were live images that we saw that made us want to aspire to be something and somebody. You know what I mean? These kids don't have that. You know what I mean? The things that they're aspiring to be, you got the kids wearing the tight clothes and they got the tattoos all over their faces, and they're even with the music, it's not happy music. I mean, you got kids talking about the medication that they're taking and depression, and I'm gonna kill myself. You know what I mean? And they got millions and millions of followers. So it must be a whole bunch of other kids that's thinking, I want to kill myself and take them pills too. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's we came up in a totally different era. You were, nobody said, when I graduate, I'm just gonna stay at home and I ain't doing nothing with my life. Yeah, it just wasn't something that we did. But you will find kids now. I was just watching the news yesterday where the court, I guess they must have awarded the family a right to evict their 30-year-old son out of the house. I think it was up in Jersey somewhere. What? They had to go to court to evict their son out of their house because he doesn't want to work. He doesn't want to do anything for it. He said that 30 years old, frap. Wow. Won't go to college, won't work, he says that he doesn't eat there. He just needs a roof over his head, and they should provide that for him. 30 years old, won't work. What does a 30-year-old man do all day? Frap. I don't, like I said, maybe he listens to the music when they talking about killing themselves or something. I don't know. I don't have time to listen to that kind of music. I'm too busy trying to pay a bill. Yeah. You know what I mean? But the stuff that these kids have time for, man, you would be fascinated. You know what I mean? But it's a totally different culture than what we grew up in. So if you can't, that's another reason why I really like to go back to the schools, because of the kids are very, very engaged. They're very, very inquisitive. I went to Miami-Dade about a month ago and talked to some kids. I mean, these kids were up on it. You know what I mean? It was like a commencement for the Black Male Initiative. I mean, these kids were sharp, man. Sharp kids, They made me proud to know that at some point they're going to be leading. Once I get out of my little twilight, they're going to be leaders. You know what I'm saying? So, the stuff that they have to deal with now to even find a fraction of kids that are of that mindset that could have easily been us. You know what I mean? Like, I was just so impressed with the kids, you know, that they're asking the right questions. They're moving in the right direction. You know what I mean? They're, you know, because they don't have to do it. All you see is negativity in the neighborhoods. You know what I mean? There might have been one or two. There was guys that we grew up with that you just knew. You just knew Johnny Weaver was gonna be Johnny Weaver. You just knew.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you just saw certain kids and you just knew.
Yeah, he ain't gonna do
that. Yeah, you know, so you know you could love them. You know what I mean? But you go do your thing and I'm gonna do my thing. Yeah. And you just sort of had to let certain people go and become who they were destined to become. You know, but now there's even more there's more Johnny Weavers than there are you and I. So who, the one kid that does want to do well, who does he turn to? Yeah. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Johnny Weaver was always been a little weird. You know, he didn't really fit in. Even when he tried to clean up and dress nice and talk like he knew what he was talking about. You know, he went through that little era and then he gravitated back to the negativity. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it was, maybe it was the Cosby Show, maybe it was a different world, but there was something in that kid between the 10th and 11th grade where he was engaged and he was locked in to want to be somebody, and then, you know, it's like he just went back in the opposite direction. So, you know, and like I said, you know, there's more negativity than there is positivity out there now. So who does the kid that want to do the right thing, who does he turn to? Yeah. You know what I mean? That's the whole, when you say it like that, that's the whole concept of why, like, I'm doing what I'm doing with the Movement Radio, because like you say, the whole perception and the whole sound of the music in our community is all negative. All negative. So we gotta start kind of putting that black excellence back out there, and highlighting people that's in our community or from our community that's doing great things. Right. Because you can throw a rock and hit negativity all day. Today? Yes. Oh, all God. Day. It's so easy. On the music, videos, everything. Phone. You know, even, you know, to open up another can of worms, you know, what's going on now with the character assassination of Bill Cosby, you know, and what that's, you know, it's just crazy. That is a whole different beast that I've been trying to tell people about. But but everybody acts as if they don't see it. Yeah, that's just, you know, you have the Harvey Weinsteins, you have the president, Donald Trumps, you have all of these people out there with the same charges, the same allegations that are like current. These are not, they had to go back 30 years. Yes. And this is what I tell everyone, you know, what we did in our time, there were things I did in college, man, that I saw that right now would probably have us locked up. Exactly. You know what I mean? Exactly. It would probably have you know things with girls and, you know, and all. It's just so. The media has sort of taken on a whole new wave. But to go back to Bill Cosby's situation, where you're talking about giving someone, you asked this woman, do you want Quaalude? Everybody back in the 70s did those. Did Quaalude, yeah. That was like asking somebody, do you want a Tic Tac? Yeah. You know what I mean? That's what they took. All over the yeah, we watched Superfly and all these different movies. That's what everybody was taking. Yeah. And, you know, why would you go to Bill Cosby's house and go to a hotel room if you didn't know what was going to come with this? You know what I mean? So to say that, yeah, I will take the Quaalude, but I said no to the sex because I wasn't cognizant, I wasn't awake. So when I feel like I was penetrated, I feel like I was. You know what I mean? And like I said, I don't want to get into like the legalities of it, but I just know the era when a lot of these things took place, and I don't think that Bill Cosby is or was an animal. Yeah. If somebody slips something in your drink now, that person is trying to hurt you. Mm-hmm. Back in those days, if somebody asked you if you wanted a Quaalude and you said yes, you were with it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? if I go to the club now, and you can't even sit your drink down because somebody might put something in it. You know what I mean? The culture is different now. So you got a lot of young people that's saying, yeah, he's completely wrong. He's an animal. He's a savage. Yeah. You know, to do something like that, but they don't understand the difference in the times. Yeah. Quaaludes were a sign of the times. That was their Molly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you know, to say that somebody's a savage for offering you, if somebody offered you a Molly right now, you took the Molly and you passed out, and you woke up and you saw them walking out with a Coogee sweater or in the bathrobe, and you feel like you've been penetrated, that person wrong. And you sort of have to put it in those terms, in layman's terms, to kids. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Because, you know, to say that he gave her a pill, if everybody was taking them during that period of time, then that was their drug of choice.
One of the ladies to say she was at the Playboy Mansion.
Right. What you doing there?
Why you good wholesome white girl? What you doing at the Playboy
Mansion? Right.
At the party for anyone.
Right. Exactly. You know. So you know, there's a lot of things to be questioned. You know what I mean? But the worst thing is I hate to see him at the end of his career and the end of his life. Mm-hmm. You know, to have that. To see him tarnished like that, yeah. and for me to see it and to read about it and to know that really it was just this was intentional.
Yeah, this was a total dismantling of a legacy.
Exactly,
of a legacy of a person, the legacy of the culture that he created,
which basically comes back to us.
Yes,
because he was our father.
Yes.
He was that was America's dad. Yes. You know what I mean? So they're coming after us.
Of the culture.
Correct. We are all products of him. Mm-hmm. The Cosby Show, different world. I went to college. I went to college because I wanted to meet a Denise. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I wanted to meet a Whitley. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I wanted to see, you know what I'm saying? Like I wanted to experience that. You know what I'm saying?
Fat Albert.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like he was, he raised us. You know, the way that Barney raised a lot of the kids that are in their early 20s now. You know what I mean? And now the kids that are born now, I'm not sure what cartoon they watch or show that they watch, but it's totally different because these kids now are being raised on reality shows.
Yeah, and that's just garbage.
And all you see is the cursing and the fighting and the drugs and the sex and all this stuff. You know what I mean?
It's just crazy.
It's you know, the Cosby Show. You had a black doctor and a black lawyer married, raised their kids. Those kids got married, and the other younger kids went to college. They went off and became something of themselves. You know, like it was reality. It was something that we could touch. You know, that was something that we wanted for ourselves. Like we were just talking about, you know, us wanting to raise our kids a certain way and to stay with the wives that we chose to be with. You know, it was all predicated on that show. It was what we were taught to do. We were taught to do the right thing. If a girl got pregnant, you're supposed to marry that girl. You know what I mean? You're not just supposed to be out having a million kids. If you really bought into what Bill Cosby was selling, you had to do the right thing. Yeah. You know, it was always about doing the right thing. So he's always going to be regarded, you know, regardless of what happens with his sentencing or whatnot. You know, whether they give him a year or they give him 20, you know what I mean? He's still going to be America's dad to me, you know what I mean? Because I know that this is a big sham.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Yeah, he's being railroaded.
You got to think about like that generation of black men and entertainers. He was one of the very few that put that black pride and that black awareness in our generation.
Right.
Below.
Right.
So why it's no accident that they going after him. Right. And by going after him, now this next generation don't get to see, you know, Fat Albert,
what it was supposed to look like.
Yeah, and all of that. So because it's like I've talked to my kids about the Brown Hornet. Right. I said, no, I'm gonna break it down to y'all Brown Hornet style. They like, what? What is Brown Hornet? I don't know what Brown Hornet is. Right. You gotta break that thing down Brown Hornet style. Right. I tell my kids that I'm coaching all of them. Yeah. I tell them all that. So man, y'all is too involved in all of these different social media outlets to really see what's going on.
Right.
Like, everything now is about grabbing your attention.
Right.
And grabbing it quick. You need to be
right
your
now.
Attention need to be grabbed quick.
Right.
And that keeps you looking at a different
something
area,
else.
and you ain't focused over here what's
on
really
what's going on.
place.
Right.
Something taking place over here and you over here.
Mm-hmm.
Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Google.
Yeah, you see it. You'll see it with the news. You know what I mean? Like, it might be some other pressing concerns. You know what I mean, going on, and then you got something. Oh well, it might be the royal wedding. You know, well, really over here, you know, what you really should be talking about is this collusion with Russia and trying to get this whole situation wrapped up.
Yeah. So
you got all this interference coming in here that now everybody on this.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But you know who Meghan Markle and Prince Harry getting married ain't got nothing to do with me. What I want to do is get this country back on track and make my life a little bit better. You know what I mean?
I ain't even give it none of my time. It didn't even get no play. Wasn't even no comments, no nothing.
I
ain't coming. I don't want to see it. It's like, because the underlying thing was some of the black women was all of a sudden like, okay, this is something that you can aspire to be.
Right. You
can grow up and marry a rich white guy. That's the message that we sending our young black girls. This is success for you.
Right.
Success for you is not finding a man that you from your culture, of your culture, that you can grow with.
Right.
I gotta find me a rich white prince.
Right.
Black woman.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Yeah.
I agree
with you 100%.
The theme is just destructive on the black family.
Oh, but like I said, it's all tied in.
Yeah.
And because it's being served on the platter that way, it's going to be perceived and it's going to be eaten that way. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. A lot of people sort of miss it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But it did. You got on one hand, you got Bill Cosby being torn down, and on the other hand, you telling, you know, black girls that your answer is in a man that's a little bit lighter than the man that you see around you every day. Mm-hmm. You know, and he's a little bit better too. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Because you a prince now.
Correct.
You're a princess now.
Right.
You want to be a prince.
So with all of the, you know, it's good on one hand, I guess, because it shows progress that anything is possible. But on the flip side, it depicts exactly that you know, that's what it takes for you to be deemed successful. That's when you truly made it. You know, that's true royalty. Man, you know what I mean? You know, so
that's crazy.
Yeah, we can't be kings enough. You know what I mean? Despite the fact of where we come from, where our ancestors come from, you know, we can't do enough to get that kind of, garner that kind of attention.
That's crazy.
You know what I mean? It's just supposed to be served on a platter a certain way. You know, nobody wants to build, but like I said, going back to the Cosby Show, they were both educated. Mm-hmm. They were both professional. You know what I mean? And they built. You know, so I don't know, man. We gotta just keep chopping wood. You know what I mean? I wish I had the answer to fix it all. Yeah. You know what I mean? But this is the
steady grind.
You know, this is the lot that I've taken up to sort of give back. I don't coach. You know, or anything in that regard. Since Coach McCray sort of got out of Homestead, I don't even really go that way anymore. You know what I mean? So and just never really had that in me to want to go into coaching like that. I'd rather coach like Little League. Yeah. There's a certain amount of innocence. Yeah. And the youth, you know what I mean? Yeah. It's like a better way. If I had the time to do it, that's where I would go, you know, because everything, once you get into high school and college, is so tainted, you know what I mean? And, you know, what do you tell a kid if you're coaching in the NFL and he's making 15, 20 million and you making $300,000, what are you going to tell him? You know what I mean? So, you know, it's crazy, you know, but that's what you're up against. So that's really the reason why I never really wanted to do do that, but I've chosen to sort of attack and strategize and implement certain things, you know, be it social media, be it going out and talking to kids, be it having a cookout or something on the park. I always just try and plant a seed, just like how your dad did with us, you know what I'm saying? I remember coming back to his funeral, and it was so many things that he said to everybody. And it wasn't, he wasn't loud with what he told you, but we all heard every word that he said. He planted seeds. You know what I mean? He planted seeds, and at the funeral we saw the offspring. It was a whole bunch of trees out there, seeds that he had planted over decades. You know what I'm saying? And that's all I really want to do. You know, some people have their ministry, some people have, you know, their disciples from the jobs that they choose. Some people it's their children. You know what I mean? My kids grew up in a totally different country, so they don't see black and white. I've had to since they've come here for college, I've had to show them what being black in America truly entails. You know what I mean? What it is. America isn't as free as you think it is, and I got to show them how to survive here. You know what I mean? Which is a task in and of itself. You know what I mean? Because, you know, in Jamaica, if you could be green, if you got money, you're good. You know what I mean? You know, it's all about class. You know, there. You know, you have a social order with the schools you go to, what types of jobs your family have, and who your family is, and all that kind of stuff. That's how it is. It's all social class. You know what I mean? But here it's different, because, you know, you could be a distinguished doctor or lawyer or politician, and if the person doesn't know you, you get stopped by the cops here, you just another black man. You know what I mean? They don't know you from Sambo. You know what I mean? So, you know, it's different in this country, the way that we're treated. There's two totally different, I guess there's two different constitutions. You know what I'm saying? Because the same rules that apply, if that was the case, the president of the United States wouldn't be where he is, and Bill Cosby wouldn't be where he is. They both be in the same place. You know what I mean? If the Constitution applied the same to everyone, you know, and that's just one case in point. You know what I mean? But
especially when you got the president that have said,
done everything, and paid off. I mean, like this is like reality TV. I never would have thought that something like this would be going on in this country, and it's even more sad because it's just setting things up. Like, what's next? You know, like if you allow this to go on, what's next?
Getting you ready.
All the this, because we finally get a black man in the White House. This is what happens after that. You know, you gotta go. Y'all going completely rogue. You know what I mean? Complete. Like, this dude he on something else, bro. 4 or 5 wives, illegitimate kids. If they got this much on him, imagine the stuff that they
paying off hookers
and all this. I mean, it's just crazy. It's completely crazy. And then there's still a sect of people that still believe, because you gotta understand one thing. President Obama, whether you like him or not, that man had to be a monk. He had to be a monk to get to where he got to. Because if there was one little speck of dirt that they could have uncovered, they would have exploited it.
Not only him,
the wife, the kids, everything, everybody, the cousins. I mean, they checked everything. For him to get to where he got was a miracle in itself. This man had to be a monk. I am convinced. No old girlfriend, no chicken head, nothing. Not one.
And no girl coming out the woodwork.
Not one.
He slapped me.
Nothing. Ever in life.
So they grew that nigga in there.
They laugh somewhere, bro. You know what I mean? But this is what we have now is the byproduct of that. Because all it did was they've been brewing it. Yeah. It's just the anger that they have in this country for seeing that, for having to deal with that for 8 years is why you see the killings. Is why you see this guy getting away with murder. You know what I mean? I'm pretty sure this guy, they probably got bodies on this guy. You know what I mean? People that he's had to get rid of to get to where, because that he does everything by force. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Nothing is not up here that has gained him his success. His success has come purely off being born into it and annihilating anyone that gets in his way. You know what I mean? That's just his way, and he's trying to use this country, run this country the same way he ran his businesses.
Hey, that's what people wanted.
You know, but it's sad that it took 8 years of a black man being in office to get to this. Like, this is the byproduct of that. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, y'all really hate us. Y'all really hate this man that much to where you get somebody like this.
But that's, historically, that's just how they act. Because you look at it historically, anytime you had black excellence, it was always followed by some kind of craziness. Right. All the way from Frederick Douglass. Right. And then you look at Tulsa, Oklahoma, Wall Street. Right. Look at Rosewood, Florida. Right. You can look at all of these. The group that they bombed in Chicago. Right. The whole neighborhood. Right. So it's like, you know, whenever there's black excellence and a group of black people that's banding together, right, and doing something positive within the community, right. The Black Panthers, right. Like now they got the kids thinking that the Black Panthers was some equivalent of the KKK, right? I mean, it's so
is Black Lives Matter.
Yeah, no, Black Lives Matter is worse than that. Black Lives Matter is some kind of organization that's been put together to kill cops. Right. It's crazy, man. Yeah. But that's the narrative, and that's why I say, like, with the movement radio, that's the narrative that, like, we gotta change. Right. We gotta put positive images back out there. Right. And force them up in front of our kids, because they can get the garbage anywhere.
You know, to go back to the case that they had up in Jacksonville, where the black kids was listening to their music too loud.
That's crazy.
Brother, do you know what it would take? This is the way white people think, and this is the way that I think that this guy was thinking. You got to stand your ground law. You can go out there and kill any black person at this point. You got a 50-50 chance of getting off. Right? Why do you get a 50-50 chance? Well, if I kill this black person, we can assassinate his character. He's probably a convicted felon. And if he is, and he has a firearm, I'm still right for killing him. Because he should have never had the gun in the first place.
Because you're standing your ground now.
Because you're standing your ground. You understand? So the way that, this is why they lobby the way that they lobby. Because it's really to have us at a disadvantage. Either they're going to assassinate our character, or they're going to go into your records. Some way, somehow, they gotta tell America that you were deserving of the death that you got at the hands of that white person, even when it don't make sense. Yeah, you shot into a truck because some kids were listening to loud music. You just wanted to kill somebody that day, and not somebody. You wanted to kill a black man. Yes, that day you woke up that morning with the intent on killing a black man, and you did it. Yep. And thank God in that particular case, the legal system did work out. But I mean, we've seen these things play out.
The only reason why he left the scene, he went to party, drinking, and then like the third day, now he want to say, hey, I was in an altercation. That's the only reason why. If he would have stayed at the scene,
right, he might have gotten off.
If he would have stayed at that scene and say, I was fearing for my life, the music was loud, somebody in there pointed a gun, right, he would have walked.
That's crazy, man.
He would have walked.
Isn't it sad?
Yeah.
It's sad, man. You know,
he screwed that up
because
he screwed that
all
up
because somebody wanted to kill somebody that day.
And the precedents have been set. Like that Zimmerman case, that was the precedent. Like I be telling people, man, if you paid attention when you was in civics class and you look at Brown versus the Board of Health or Board of Education, those cases are used in, if you know anything about legal stances, those past cases are used for precedents.
Correct.
Like I don't have to argue about another murder case on stand your ground if I got this one right here.
Exactly.
I got Trayvon Martin against George Zimmerman.
Right.
Here is my precedent.
Right.
Now I can build my argument
around that. Around stand your ground.
Like, and then people act like they don't understand that.
Right.
Like that's why that case was so important.
But it's also the reason why they lobby for the guns the way that they do, because they do understand that they've targeted these kids. You talking 7-8-year-old kids, man. Ain't got a clue. But the people the politicians, they're getting reports back year in and year out. What are the reading scores in the 3rd grade? And they're building prisons based off reading grade, 3rd grade reading grades. They can tell that determines how many prisons they need to build for over the next 10 years.
That's big business.
It's big business. So and like I said, bro, you got kids 21, 22 graduating high school. You know how humiliating it is for you to be able to you're legal to drink. You can legally drink with your teacher and you still in high school, man. Oh, boy. You know how crazy that is? But that's what, like I said, that's what these kids are up against. But they put those roadblocks there because they really want you to drop out. It's designed for you to drop out. All those schools that were A schools and B schools and all that, all they had to do was get weed the bad kids out and get them to drop out of school. Once they took them off the roll, that's how the score shot up.
Yeah, and then they do the rezoning.
Exactly.
It's the amazing thing to me is, like when we was in school, you might have had, like you said, LD. You might have had 3 LD students. Right. In the whole school. Right. And that was like, you didn't know that until like 9th grade. Right. Like,
I don't ever see you in the regular class. How you sit in that same class,
man? Why you over there with the handicap kids?
You in the same class all day?
You was with the handicap kids? You might have had 3 of them.
Right.
Now you got a whole department of ADHD, but emotionally disturbed.
What they did, and it was also by design, they started funding schools for medicating the kids. So when we were coming up, and you might have been a kid that couldn't sit down for too long. That's why they had recess, so you can go outside and play, because you get too busy sitting down for too long. So there were kids even back when we were in school that had what they call attention deficit disorder and all ADHD and all this stuff, but they targeted it a different way. So back in like the mid to late 80s, what they started doing, they started giving the kids Ritalin. And Ritalin is just, it's like a gateway drug into all the heavy stuff, the opiates that they give you by the time you reach 18 years old. But you're never going to be able to come off those medications. You can't get off Ritalin, and you're not going to be able to come off the opiates that they're giving you. So everybody, 60% of the population out here walking around with some form. If you go and sit down and talk to any psychiatrist for 30 minutes or longer, they're going to give you some medication for something. There's something in a pill that can fix what it is that you. I hear a voice, I hear a noise. I'm sad all the time. I get anxious all the time. Whatever it is that they decipher from what you told them in that conversation, they got a pill for it. And that is the problem with society today. So with the whole educational system, the kids aren't bad, they just over medicated.
It's crazy.
You can't learn when they got you in a comatose state. All the kids sitting there like this. getting through 8 hours a day, and the parents don't care because back in the mid 80s they were actually paying the parents. Yeah, you got a check for I don't know if they're still doing it, but you got a check. You get a check for your kid being a damn guinea pig.
They get.
You know what I mean? So then you wonder why so many kids are shooting up schools. You wonder why. So why a man can say, because this music is too loud, I know this kid had to have been a problem because of the music that he listened to. So I got a 50-50 chance. I like those odds.
It's higher than 50-50. He was 50-50 when he left. He had damn near a perfect opportunity to say, hey,
but
somebody did something in there, shop movement.
The guy
for something.
Well, we were talking about the guy that shot the man in the back earlier. It's the same thing. South Carolina. It's the same thing. How do you shoot somebody in the back and say you feared for your life? How you plant evidence on the person and still don't get you don't end up in prison?
Write a false report.
Write a false report. You did everything you did was wrong there. Everything. And you don't do a day in jail, and this man did. And the state got to pay the family XYZ amount of money because they know that they were legally responsible.
Well, that's the same thing with the Baltimore case with Freddie Gray. You know, but we got to stop selling out though, because that family took the money, took somewhere like 6 or 7 million, and then they had the case after they took the money. One by one, they systematically dropped the charges each one of them.
Right.
Hold up. You mean you're gonna pay the family in admissions to guilt?
Exactly.
That something was wrong. Exactly. And then you're gonna put them in the court, and then the court say nothing. No. But we got it. But now, as a family, you can't say nothing because you took the money.
All it is Emmett Till.
Yeah.
It's like Emmett Till that we get to see. And we haven't seen the last of it.
Nope.
You know what I mean? Like it's so evident. We get to see the lynchings with camera phones. It's all being recorded. You know what I mean? It's all being recorded, and it's sad. You know, but there's a problem in this country, and it's only gonna get worse.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You know, I don't know who that person is that can actually unite this country, but at this point it's very, very unstable and it's very, very unsafe. Yeah. You know, to be a black man in this society right now.
Yep. Because
even if you're working in a corporate structure, you got to look over your back, you got to dot your I's, you got to cross your T's, because you never know they're coming for you. Yep. They're coming for your job.
In the government sector too.
You know,
which is the reason why I was like ready to get out of that.
Right.
Because that's full of nothing but good old boys.
Right.
And they have a structure where they protect each other.
Right.
And you know, like they say in those settings, you know, the pen is mightier than the sword. You
right.
know, they write the reports.
Correct.
Of the people that they want promoted.
Right. Right.
So if you ain't a brown noser, especially as a black man,
don't stand a chance.
You ain't. Nah. You ain't, sir. You want coffee, sir?
Motisa.
Yeah, you ain't one from the Motisa tribe. You don't stand a chance.
Yeah, man.
I mean, you can make captain on your own merit, but after that,
right,
you need to be from the Motisa tribe.
Yeah, man. It's tough. and, you know, and you think, you know, it's 50 years after the civil rights movement. You know what I mean? Like,
but that was,
like we said,
that was bought and paid for too. That was bought.
Well, it actually ended up benefiting other races rather than us. You know what I mean? We fought and got benefits for everyone else. Yes. You know what I mean?
Every group and every community after that has benefited from off our back.
Correct.
And then, but you know, that whole movement was paid for by, you know, the liberal power structure in that day.
Right.
You know, they paid them, the big six leadership, the big six black leadership of that day, they got paid.
Right.
To do those marches and
right.
set those things up in those places. The Southern Christian Leadership Organization and the Rainbow Coalition, all those things were being funneled. Them liberal whites was funneling money through that, paying them 6 black leaders. Right. Because those 6 black leaders wasn't even the black leaders. Right. Until they start getting paid and pushing them in the media. Exactly. And putting them on the newspaper. We don't control nothing in the media.
That's right.
We didn't control the media that day. We didn't have YouTube and all that nowadays. We didn't have the newspaper and all that. People put them people in front of the community that said,
Tell me this. Why don't we have any anymore?
It's just like you said with Bill Cosby. It's been like a systematic dismantling of anything black and productive, and the ones that have the financial power to do it won't do it, because they understand like
what's at jeopardy.
Yeah, what's at jeopardy. They livelihood is at jeopardy. It's no mistake that none of the black billionaires in this country have did anything for any neighborhood in this country. Whenever they get some money, they go to another country and build a school. Okay, Oprah goes to Africa and builds 2-3 schools in Africa when the people of Chicago are starving. At war. The school systems there in the black community don't even have running water, books, or nothing. Why can't you get $100,000 to some black community and start a school there, a girls' school in Chicago? Why not? You can't do it.
It's crazy.
She won't do it. That white political power structure. You can go save somebody else, but you do it here.
But you could say that a lot of people have died off. But you even take, Minister Farrakhan, right, who back when we were coming out of school was very instrumental. Right, even assembled the Million Man March. It almost appears as even he has vanished. In the past 20 to 25 years, and you think he's still living. We talk about him like he ain't here no more. This man, it gets like he's not invited on any shows. He doesn't have, and with all these different platforms that you have now, like the YouTube and Instagram, he could even be putting messages out there, now even more so than ever. And there's nothing.
Those boys is paid for. Farrakhan took a lot of money from over the water.
Right.
So he can't get too crazy.
Right. but it's just when what's happening now is like the kids are desperate. We're in dire need of some leadership, but where do the leaders come from?
They come from within the community at the grassroots level, at this level right here. Because like you can't even trust. You can't.
Well, the game is still the same, even if there are some people out there that can speak on some truths and they do it. You take somebody like a Charlamagne the God or Angela Rye, people that have those platforms to really get at these people on and hitting them with facts. Eventually, within the next year or two, they're going to be silenced too.
And like you look, even when you say Charlamagne has toned down
a lot,
like over the last 2-3 years.
But that's why I asked the question. You know what I mean?
Before, you can look at Charlamagne the God as like before he started getting into the writing the book and all of that. Before that, he was aggressive, and politically powerful. But after that, it seemed like he done tapered off. He trying to play the game now. I want to play the game to get this book sold, to get that wealth building, royalties.
It's the same thing with with the girl Angela Rye. She still goes hard, and she's raw. But at some point, they gonna cut that too. You know what I mean?
You can't be too out there.
But what we need now is a leader. And God only knows, what's going to happen with President Obama, with the things that he's trying to put in place. But he has to be even more careful now than he was while he was in office, because it's the same thing. It's a dangerous society out there. You know what I mean?
I read somewhere where him and his wife like signed
with Netflix.
Netflix deal. They gonna produce something.
And he also has this like big brother, big sister type mentorship thing where he's getting with people in the communities to actually lead. You know what I mean? It's not something that he has to do per se himself, but he's developing leaders. You know, so I think that'll be a good thing too. But definitely within the community, it's in and of itself, we definitely lack leadership. We lack a dominant voice. Like, who do you follow? You know what I mean? And you know, going back to what we were saying earlier, you got some people, you know, some of the entertainers, you know, the Jay-Z's and the Puff Daddies, you know, you would have thought that maybe one of them would have assumed the taking the mantle. You know, because back when Puff Daddy was huge with the Rock the Vote campaign, Vote or Die, you know what I mean? And he hasn't really done much since that time. That first election, you know what I mean? So
it wasn't even that active during the second election.
That's what I'm saying. So there must have been
quiet.
There must have been a reason for that. So
matter of fact, he did the Diddy Runs the City during that instead of
the Vote or Die.
Thing,
exactly.
He did the I'm gonna run a marathon.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean,
you know, you know, like there are some people out there that I think could help in galvanizing black turnout. You know, my whole thing is really just to try and get people to understand the importance of it. You know what I mean? Because our lives are at stake. Whether you believe it or not, our kids' lives are at stake. They're attacking welfare. So a lot of the things that we have sort of grown to think are just going to be, it's just going to happen, and it's going to be there. Too. That's what I'm saying. You know, to think that there are things that our parents receive that may not be there for us if we're not careful. So it's a lot at stake. You know what I'm saying? And people just think, you know, they're talking about changing HUD housing and a lot of these things that they put in place to sort of handicap blacks, to pacify blacks, you know what I'm saying? But what I don't think that whites quite understand, that you can't take something away without replacing it with something. You see what I'm saying? I'm all for eliminating food stamps, but what are you going to replace it with? You can take away the welfare, you can take away HUD housing, you can take away all of these things, but you got to replace it with something. You need some job training, you need some jobs. You know what I mean? You got to wean people off, but their whole thing is we just going to punish these people because they've been taking our tax dollars for too long. We just going to punish them. And you know, and I often tell people that sit high, you know, I say, do you think that your guard gate is going to stop somebody from coming in there and eating? Where you gonna go and get groceries? You gotta stop and get gas. You think that people, and it got real bad during like the recession, but the streets never cried out. It never got that bad. You know, the recession was rough here in Miami, you know what I mean? It was rough, but the streets never cried out. What happens when the streets cry out? Because where this lunatic that's in office now, where he's taking it, he's just about punishment. You know what I mean? He's really about annihilating. They want to lock us up. It's perfectly fine to kill us. We're not going to educate you. We're going to cut the budgets. We ain't giving you nothing. Figure it out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you know, so it hurts me more when I hear black people that have made it say it ain't my problem.
Yeah, that,
you know what I mean? That bothers me.
I get a little ticked off about that.
You know what I mean? That truly bothers me. Voting isn't important.
We got a couple
that grew up with us. I know.
I'd be like, man, I can't believe what this dude is talking about.
They go off on tangents. You know what I mean? But it's almost unreal. I'm like, you grew up where?
Yeah.
You know, I could see somebody that maybe grew up in Pinecrest that maybe just don't, you know, you don't get it.
Yeah.
But from where I come from, man, if I became a billionaire tomorrow, I'm still gonna be for the culture.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They can give me, I can earn 100 billion. In my heart and in my soul, I'm never gonna change.
Yeah.
I am who I am.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I don't know nobody that has that.
Yeah.
Not in our immediate circle anyway. You know what I mean? I don't know anybody that has that. So for anybody to have a portion of that, to think that they've reached so far, you got to be delusional, or you own something else. That
just ain't my problem.
Yeah, how could you? Well, that our vote really don't count. What do you mean? That's all we got.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Yeah.
In this country, people have fought for that for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know? You won't understand why they had to fight so hard until you can't do it yourself.
Yeah.
Again, if they took it away from you, then you're gonna cry for it again. You're gonna cry for it back. So understand its importance. There's a reason that the people went through what they did to get those rights.
Mm.
There's blood on that right to vote.
Ain't crazy.
But even more so than that, like I said, going back to the guns. If I think of everything in strategy, if I know the defense that the opponent is running, I'm gonna make up a play to win.
Mm-hmm.
And there's not enough people that's showing the kids and telling the kids how to win this game.
Mm-hmm.
You got to know what they're doing to stop you. And I've always been the type of person, I like challenges.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I like tests. You know what I mean? You really want to challenge me. That's how I looked at it. You know what I mean? I throw my headphones on before I go in the test, listen to me a little Biggie or Pop or whatever, and I go in there and I knock that thing out because you're challenging me.
You're right.
It was not a test to make me jump a hurdle, but you think that you know something that I don't know.
Yeah.
And that was enough to get me hype.
Yeah.
To go in there and knock it out. You know what I mean? But the kids today, we, just like there's no one that's been there to pass the mantle because those older guys are still holding on.
Mm-hmm.
We have to reach back too. We can't be as stubborn as those that have come before us to say that we're too prideful or we're too needy. Mm-hmm. Because I do believe that things have gotten so rough that the generation before us, they're in a situation where they can't let go because they still got to work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They still have to provide, and now they're in this Instagram and Facebook thing, so they want to wear the skinny jeans and the red bottoms too, yeah, even at 60 or 70. You know, but that's what's happening.
Yeah.
So because they're so caught up in the whole social media fad and craze, that they won't let go and pass the mantle. Mm-hmm. They haven't prepared us to assume that position because they're still holding on. So we might be a generation that gets lost unless we just know it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. But
take it.
We got to just go and get it. But we got to understand that over the next 15, 20 years as well, that we got to prepare those that's coming behind us for something because we have vision. Unlike some people, everybody can't see what's in front of them. Mm-hmm. We see what's in front of us and the challenges that we face. I don't live in the now. I'm really, really concerned about the society that my kids gonna have to grow up in and their kids are gonna have to grow up in.
Yeah.
That's my biggest concern. I'll make it. I've gone through I've had nothing. My kids couldn't grow up the way I grew up. We eating Spam and potted meat and Vienna sausages and crackers. You know what I mean? That's a meal for me. Tuna fish. You know what I mean? My kids don't know nothing about that kind of living. But it's imperative that we prepare that next generation because we could easily end up back there.
Yeah. And
you know what I mean?
Where it looks like
that's where it looks like they're trying to take us.
Yeah.
It looks like that's where they're trying to take us. And if you're not up on it and you're saying it's not my problem, and you're saying that voting isn't important, and you're saying that all you got to do is don't get in trouble. Well, that's easier said than done when you don't have parks and recreation the way that we had parks and recreation. Yeah. You don't have those people that the coaches that truly care for the kids the way that our coaches truly cared for us. You know what I mean? I had coaches coming from all over the place to pick me up. I wouldn't have been able to get to practice for Little League unless somebody came and picked me up. Right. You know what I mean? So there were sacrifices that somebody made in their life to get me to where I was able to get to. Nothing just happens by osmosis. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So in understanding that, you can't disregard it. You can't write it off and say, nah, the kids just stupid, they're just dumb, and all you got to do is do the right thing. If you don't have food on the table and your mom is strung out on drugs and you got 4 or 5 younger siblings and the only thing that's there for you to do is to pick up a sack or watch a trap for somebody, and they're gonna pay you $200-300 a week to do that job just so you can put some food on it. How do you tell a kid not to do that?
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's easy to say, well, they don't have to do that. But what does the system have for them? They don't. The kids today that's 16, 18 years old can't go to McDonald's jobs. It's people that's 35 working at McDonald's.
That's right.
Think about it. They can't go and bag groceries as people 65, 70 years old is bagging groceries at Publix.
Yes.
So what's there for those kids? It's not the same society that we grew up in. There are no summer jobs. They didn't cut those programs.
Yeah.
Everything has been cut.
Man, that was key.
You know what I mean? There are no free physicals anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like, the play sports. You got to pay for that.
Yeah.
I remember you didn't have to pay to play football. You know what I'm saying? If you were good enough, you didn't have to pay. It costs a lot of money to put your kids through. It was almost, I think,